Meeting of the Local Planning Agency of the City of Dunedin will now come to order. The Local Planning Agency is an advisory board of citizens appointed by the City Commission. This board is comprised of volunteers who represent the thoughts and concerns of the community. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to make recommendations to the City Commission regarding each item on the agenda. Tonight, we will be conducting a public hearings. Therefore, this meeting is open to the public. Anyone in the audience who wishes to give testimony to any of these items on the agenda will need to be sworn in by the Deputy City Clerk. The swearing-in process will occur after tonight's first agenda item, which will be the approval of the minutes from the last LPA meeting. Please be aware that this local planning agency is not a quasi-judicial board and therefore has no final decision-making power. Our procedures, however, are structured in a quasi-judicial manner for the benefit of those who come before it. Tonight's format will be as follows. I will introduce each item on the agenda, after which the city representative will present information about it. Thereafter, the members of the local planning agency will respond to the city representative. Finally, anyone from the public may come forward. Those from the public wishing to give testimony will need to approach the dais, identify themselves, and utilize the speaker's lectern in order for their comments to be recorded. Upon conclusion of the public hearing of the local planning agency will consider the evidence before it and will vote on the agenda item. That voice vote is the rendition of the order of the board, and there will be no written decision issued by the board. First item on tonight's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 10th, 2023 LPA meeting. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes? Hearing none, but I would like to make a motion for approval of the minutes as they stand. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes unanimously. Our city clerk, deputy city clerk, will make an announcement for us.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. We would like to share our condolences with the friends and family of Mr. James Roberts, member of the LPA. He was one of our longest standing alternates. He had been serving since July of 2017, and sadly we learned of his passing on May 2nd. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
The Deputy City Clerk will now swear in all persons wishing to speak or give testimony to any of tonight's agenda items. So if there's anyone out there.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you are about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
The next item on our agenda will be the annual selection of chair and vice chair. So I think what we want to do, you want to give us a little direction as to how we're going to proceed?
Certainly, what we would hope would happen with that, we will open the floor for nominations, and this will be, we'll deal with, Vice Chair, would you like to do the chair first, then the vice chair?
Yes, we will.
Okay, so we will start with the chair. We'll open nominations. If there is more than one, we will then be taking roll call vote so that your votes are made known for the record. And then after the chair position, we'll move on to the vice chair for nominations for that position.
Is there a nomination for the chairperson?
I'd like to nominate Dan Massero, chairman.
Is there any other nominations for chairperson? I need to respond to that first. Thank you for the nomination, and if I receive a majority vote here, I would accept the chairperson position. However, since I only have 6 more months before my term expires, my last 6 meetings might best be served or used as vice chair, if nominated for that position, so that I would be able to help and give guidance, help others, somebody else to run the meeting, like I kind of did with Diane as you know, we did in the past. So with that said, one more opportunity. You know, I said I would accept it if there are no others, but if there is somebody else out there that would like to do that, please keep in mind, I'm only here for 6 more meetings. And somebody else eventually is going to have to take over. I would be, you know, glad to help guide anyone through this process. So I'll ask one more time. Are there any other nominations for the chairperson?
It's yours, Dan.
I'm not going to remove it. Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so the nominations have been closed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I guess aye. Okay. I thought that was important, okay? 6 more meetings after being on this board for 21 years, okay? All right, our next position to fill is our vice chair position, okay? At this time, I'll take nominations for vice chair. Anyone wishing to make a nomination? And may I ask a question of our attorney? As chairperson, am I allowed to make a nomination also?
Most certainly.
Thank you. Okay, I'll open the floor for nominations for vice chair. Is there anyone that would like to nominate somebody for vice chair position?
I'll nominate Steven Silver.
Oh, Sandbergen. There's 2, yeah, 2 Stevens up here. I'll accept that.
Is there any other nominations? Vice chair, okay, that's closed. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, boy. Okay. All right, our next item on the agenda is application ANLUP-ZO23-01. The attorney, I need to ask a question. Are we going to take 4 votes on this item, 1 for the application and then 3 more for the ordinances? Will we be taking 4 votes? Or is it 3?
It's
3?
three.
Just on the ordinances?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Vice Chair, forgive me, Hillary, do we need to open anything for public input after the nominations of chair and vice chair?
We can, it can be taken in time with the agenda item, or it could be taken separately, but if there's any here for public comment, then yes, we could make sure we do that.
Vice Chair, just so that we're covered, can you please ask for any public comments on our choice of chair and vice chair?
Okay. We've done the process. We need to open this to the public. Is there anyone out there that wishes to speak about the decisions that have been made by this board so far tonight? Seeing none or hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. George, who's doing this? George?
So actually, no, but I want to introduce
Yeah.
our new planner. Good evening, everybody. George Kinney on behalf of the Community Development Department. To my left is James Cunningham. He is our fairly new Planner 1. We thought this would be a good project for him to cut his teeth on because it's relatively straightforward. So James will actually be presenting to you tonight, but I'm here for support and, of course, if you have any questions afterwards.
Thank you. James, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, LPA. I'm going to start with the application ANLUPZO
2301. This is the voluntary annexation by Habitat for Humanity of the property at 338 John F. Kennedy Street. We'll be covering ordinance 2306, 07, and 08. The owner, like I just stated, was Habitat for Humanity of Pinellas and West Pasco counties. The applicant is Ken Rush, who is the chief operating manager. And we also have a utilities department representative here as well. They are applying to annex into the city of Dunedin from unincorporated Pinellas for zoning and land use. The property location, I've got some maps coming up, but it's at 338 John F. Kennedy. The acreage is .138. The tax parcel number is there as well. And it's almost identical in land use, well, it is actually, to the county. But the zoning will change a little bit from mobile manufactured home district to a single-family residential R60, which is our most common zone here in Dunedin. The use of property will also stay the same. Here are a couple maps I put together. The Dunedin map on the left shows you context where it's located to our east. And there are a couple other properties that have been annexed as well in the same location. On the right is an aerial map, and the highlighted area is where it's located above the, is that a cemetery? It's a cemetery, I think. All right, next, the city of Dunedin land use is on the left, and then Pinellas County land use is on the right. And you can see where those few properties have, in the same neighborhood, have already been annexed by us. This is the zoning map. It's going to be R60 like the other two to the west of it. And the first readings of all three ordinances will be on July 13th. After that first reading, we will send it to Forward Pinellas for review and approval of Pinellas County as the countywide planning authority. Then all three ordinances will be brought back to the commission for final reading on August 17th. I believe that's, the staff recommends to approve this application and those three ordinances.
James, can you go back to the map again?
Yes, sir.
Keep going.
I believe that was the first one.
One more.
This
All
one?
right.
Yes.
And I'm understanding this, but for everyone up here, okay? So this property that's all shaded in is an enclave,
Yes.
not part of the city of Dunedin. However, there are already maybe 4 properties in there, or is it 2 properties in there that are already annexed into the city?
That's correct. So it's in that unincorporated pocket where we have that memorandum of understanding with Pinellas County for.
And in order to be annexed into the city, we need to have some kind of common property line?
Not for this particular area, because it is in what we call a tier 1 area where
And
you don't have.
that's
to
the
have
explanation that I want. Okay, I want everyone to understand why these 2 little places, or 3 now, will be their own. It's because they're within that development, and as long as the development is within a adjoining property line with the city, then they're allowed to be annexed in.
That's correct. And that's all part of that MOU that we have with Pinellas County for these.
I didn't say that very good, but I know you say it better.
Yeah,
so.
no, you said it perfectly. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that's why we're doing this, and why we only see a couple of the properties within that subdivision as part of the city. I would assume we're serving that city now with sewer and water,
Yeah,
and serving that
I
area.
think we have a representative from the engineering office that can kind of talk to the utility extensions, but I believe that is the rationale for the application.
Sorry, anyone from the board here wishes to?
I actually had the same question. It's just a purely technical question, but, so you're saying as long as it's contiguous to the land boundary, But it doesn't have to be contiguous to another parcel that's annexed in because of this special Tier 1.
Correct. It doesn't have to have contiguity to an existing parcel within the city of Dunedin because it's in an area that has been described as one that can come in. It's voluntary, so, but they can come in at their request and request a certificate.
But is it only because it's in this Tier 1?
It's in an area that is outlined in that MOU that allows them to do that, yes. Typically, you would have contiguity.
Continuity, contiguousness, whatever, to the parcel, to a next parcel. But this is different because of the overlay, or is that?
The MOU, yep, that's correct. Yep, you hit it right on the nose. You might remember, you might recall, I think I can't remember the name of the subdivision, but we did one a few months back that was very similar to this in a different area. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I didn't know that was on.
Let there be light.
It's the same concept. So normally you like to see contiguity, but we don't always get it.
I remember those other addresses in the past that come before us. Is there currently anything at that 338 address?
It's undeveloped right now.
It's a vacant piece of land.
That's right.
What are the plans, obviously building a new single-family home?
Yeah, so I went to the orientation for Habitat for Humanity just to get more information. And they build for underserved and lower income families, and it's single residence, yeah.
And Bob mentioned that it's actually a partnership deal with the city, so the city is involved.
Yeah, it's a partnership. It's similar to what we've done in the past. Habitat's been a great partner. This area's been quite a bit in transition, and they picked up a lot. They went in probate, took a little while, but we're contributing toward the land with Kent Russ, who's here with Habitat, for a single-family home. So this is part of our affordable housing infill type measures, and Habitat's a great partner. And of course, it's in the water and sewer district that's served, by the city of Dunedin, so that's why it's all tied in. But yeah, it's a vacant lot.
That may be right into the last question I had, and that was on the application. There was 5 pages in one of the applications, and it was the 5th page I had a question on. It talked about a $45,000 reimbursement to the city or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, that's part of it. Now I can't come up here. That's part of the deal where we're contributing X of dollars to Habitat to make this happen with the lot purchase. So they're going to be going ahead, and Ken can come up here and talk a little bit more. But we work as partners. This is kind of longstanding.
All right, so yeah, you know what I'm talking about. All right.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I remind Bob of it very regularly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
He just did. He said I'll be sending you an invoice.
My name's Ken Rush. I'm the COO at Habitat for Humanity. And first of all, yes,
Are you going to give us a little bit more information than what Bob just said?
I may, absolutely.
However, you're going to have an opportunity as a
That's
presenter
fine.
to come before us. I just want to make sure that everyone else here on the board has an opportunity to
Sure.
ask our staff some questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I would just love to know how that parcel got left out of the city in the first place.
So it's never been part of the city, so it's unincorporated Pinellas County, basically. So it's, I don't know if it was ever really kind of left out on purpose or anything like that. It's just, as we went through conversations with the county, deciding on areas for possible annexation, it's kind of a combined effort with the county to identify those areas that are most appropriate for annexation, particularly for the fact that you're wanting to pick up utility services such as sewer and water, because a lot of times these unincorporated properties are not served. They're served by a well or a septic system.
Yeah, I was just curious as to when the city was incorporated, how come these little pieces got left out?
Yeah, that would probably take a little bit of research, Dr. Broom, but so we
It's okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, as far as, we obviously started out as a much smaller community. We've continued to grow a little bit through these annexations, but we can certainly try to piece some of that together for you.
Not necessary.
I do know Jay and David here in engineering have a lot of institutional knowledge on that. When I have questions about the history, I'll go talk to them, and they have eidetic memories, it seems. They're very good about that. If you're interested, I could bring that back to you.
Do you have any questions?
I do have one question. I just want to confirm, this is currently hooked up to sewer and water for the city, is that correct?
I don't believe so, right?
Permitting is underway.
Yeah, I believe they're moving towards that now.
Okay. Okay. And then what impact will this have on property taxes for that lot?
They would, their parcel adjustment would go from whatever that tax category is for unincorporated Pinellas into the city of Dunedin.
Thank you.
Those were all good questions that y'all have had up here, and this is the kind of case that is going to come before us a lot of different times. And having this understanding of the enclaves that are not part of the city as to why they ever happened that way, I don't know either. But the city started small and it kept getting bigger and bigger, and we've increased our service area, and we've come to take on a lot of these enclaves. So as long as their properties are contiguous to the city, they can be brought into the city on the annexation. So
That map on the left can show you enclaves more easily. You'll see them inside the city boundaries and.
There's several pockets within the city limits.
okay. So can we hear now from the representative? Thank you.
No, thank you. My name's Ken Rush. I'm the COO at Habitat for Humanity. Thank you for having us here this evening and looking at our application for annexation. So this project started probably well over a year ago. As you guys all are very aware, property is very, very hard to find here in Pinellas County for especially what we do for the development of affordable housing. And we have had a long-running partnership with the city of Dunedin. Unfortunately, because the properties don't come available as often, we don't get to do as much development within the city. So when this one came about, regardless of where it was located at that particular time, I reached out to Bob immediately and asked if there was any way that the city would be able to contribute, because the purchase price on this property was much higher than what we normally see. I don't have a problem sharing. We paid $125,000 for that single lot. And we did go to Bob, and Bob had some money put away for economic development for affordable housing. So the kind of caveat to the whole thing was, even though the property is currently, and is still sitting within the Pinellas County, unincorporated area of Dunedin, which, to answer, Michael, your question, we run into this daily. Cities, St. Petersburg has the Lealman area as an example. Clearwater has, or Largo has the Dansville and Ridgecrest, very notorious areas, large areas, which you probably are aware of. All of those are unincorporated areas, even though they have a city backing the address. So this was one of those that actually fell into that same kind of requirement. So we offered a couple different things. If the city was willing to partner with us for the acquisition of the property, what we were going to do in turn was to annex it into the city. Rightfully so. We wanted the resident to be a resident of Dunedin. And also, we have been working diligently through our homeowner services program to try to find a working resident of the city of Dunedin or a city employee that will actually qualify for our program, that will actually take ownership of that home.
Some priority given to
Exactly.
the local resident.
Exactly. So that's okay. He can beat me up all day. For 45 grand, I'm pretty easy. The reality of it is, it's not as easy as it may seem, because they still have to fit into our program, they still have to qualify, they have to apply, they don't just get a pass. But the reality of it is, working with Bob and the city has been really easy to do. And there's nothing greater, at least in my mind, I've been doing this for Habitat a long time, that you can actually keep a resident in Dunedin. You can actually keep someone who may be renting currently at maybe one of our local establishments here in the city and keep them living in Dunedin, working in Dunedin, and that's where the whole thing comes full circle. So we're really excited that we could have this opportunity.
Well, it's great to see this property go.
Yeah, to answer another question, we are currently in permitting right now. I think the permits, I know they've been applied for. We have actually gone through the route without delaying anything any further. We went ahead and applied with the county. The county has, I think, approved the permits, so we're actually under site work right now to develop the house. And that will continue, and then, of course, once the annexation agreement, fingers crossed, is actually approved, then, of course, everything will then transfer over to the city of Dunedin. The nice thing about that, though, is because, as James mentioned, the actual codes, the zoning, and everything run so close and parallel with one another, so it's not like we're really doing something to the county that we wouldn't want mainstream for the city as well. So they run very clear.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone from the board? Any questions?
Just real quick, when you, When you bought it, was there anything on that property? It was.
No,
you bought
it was a vacant lot, extremely overgrown. We got a codes letter from the county to clean it up about 4 times, which we were planning on doing anyhow. So it's like, okay, sure, we'll just go get a trailer there a little earlier in the process. But we did do that, so we've helped clean it up while we've been under the process of permitting as well. So I thought it was interesting. One of the first comments Bob made to me this evening, I've driven by there, and man, it just looks totally different, and it does. You know, it was, I hate to use the word blighted, but it was pretty much a little bit of a blighted property, so we're hoping to see.
Use that term.
I know, but it won't be any longer because it'll be in the city of Dunedin.
Ken, I think the work you guys do with Habitat is fantastic. I've been involved a little bit with, through some friends on Habitat. Real quick, do you have a candidate for this property at this point, and will they go through the typical training program, participate in the construction and all that?
Yeah, so that is the absolute, that would be the program requirements no matter what. So our homeowners go through a very rigorous, I'll give you real quick, 32 education classes, sweat equity, single family home or a single adult household, 350 sweat equity hours. If it's a 2 adult household, 450 sweat equity hours. It's very time consuming and it's very rigorous. And if you do the math in your head, think, how can I get 450 hours? That's a year. Well, typically it does. It takes somewhere between 10 months and maybe 16 months for an applicant to go through the process. I will tell you that since we started this project with Bob in the city, we have been actively pursuing applicants. Every time we get somebody in, every time they're approved, the first thing we look at, are they a resident of Dunedin? I do know for a fact that we've had at least 1 or 2. The other thing about this too is because these houses will be sold, these are not rented, these are not given, these are sold. The caveat to that is it's sold at a 0% interest mortgage. That's what keeps it affordable. So we have had a couple people look at the property, and I know Jack, who is our chief program officer, has looked at a couple of our applicants. We're trying to get somebody with maximum affordability. This property, through Bob and through the joint effort that we've put together, we kind of call this more of a workforce housing scenario, if you will, because we already know that the property is going to appraise quite high because it's going to be in Dunedin. So we're trying to get somebody with maximum affordability, but not so far out of the mainstream of 120% AMI or higher. We typically serve the 50 to 80% AMI. That's where we have our bread and butter. But through the partnership with Bob, we have been trying to get it up, and they were agreeable to 120% workforce housing. If you go clear up and down the county at all municipalities, they still consider that affordable, and we do as well. But we are really trying hard to get somebody at 80% or below.
Good luck. Thank you.
It's tough.
Anything?
Thank you.
Charles, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, what we're going to need to do here is to vote on each of the 3 ordinances. Ordinance 2306 on the annexation, Ordinance 2307 on the land use designation, and Ordinance 2308. Okay, but before we take our vote, I need to open this to the public. So is there anyone from the public that wishes to come forward to speak on this agenda item? Please do so now. No one's coming forward. This public hearing on this agenda item is closed. Members of the board, do you have any questions or?
I'm sorry, Chairperson, let me let you finish your thought. Let me let the board go if they have any questions or discussion. I'm sorry.
If there are any other questions here, I'll entertain a motion for ordinance 23-06.
May I make a comment before you do
Please.
so for 06? That's the annexation ordinance. I heard your conversation this evening about the enclave specifically, and that's pursuant to a section of Pinellas County's code and the MOU that we have with Pinellas County considering the enclaves. There's not a recital currently in the draft ordinance. It's going to go before the commission that clarifies that. So if you want to suggest that, you can. If you don't, that's fine too. But if you'd like to have that suggestion, then as the city attorney's office can make sure that that change is made before it's presented, but you could just vote on it to be clarified in that manner, and we could move it on if you want to do that.
Okay, at This time, I'll entertain a motion on ordinance 23-06.
I'll make the motion with the clarifying language. I think that would be really important.
Sure. We'll make sure that's presented to the commission that way. So,
And is
Commissioner
there,
Hill, you understand the motion that there, Member Kynes is suggesting that the ordinance be approved to be moved on to the commission with that clarification being made.
is there a second to this motion?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Ordinance 23-06 on annexation. Ordinance 23-07, land use plan designation. Is there anyone that'd like to make a motion on this ordinance?
I make a motion, Chairman, that ordinance 2307 to designate the property as residential urban on the city's future land use plan map following annexation be approved.
Very good, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes unanimously. Okay, final one, ordinance 23-08. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll so motion.
You're making a motion for ordinance 23-08 for approval.
Correct.
Zoning,
Is there a second?
second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes unanimously. So, thank you. Good luck, James.
Thank you very much.
And Ken. Okay. Bob, thank you for your time here to make this presentation. As you know, I have very close feelings for our city CRA, and I thought it was very important that all of our members on this board try and understand what the CRA is all about and how it operates and where its boundaries are and what, different things that we've done within the CRA area that helps with all of the development as we see today. So thank you for your time. This is purely educational for all of us here to understand this. This is important. We do get projects in the CRA district, and these projects could mean that there is an awful lot of money that comes to the city for further redevelopment, and I'm hoping you'll cover the TIF funds portion also. So I leave it to you.
My pleasure. Bob Ironsmith, Director of Economic Development and Housing. What's this? Oh, okay, it's a different, you know what, I didn't realize it's a darker green. It's two greens, but it's a darker green. So when I saw the lighter green, I thought it was lit. But anyway, Bob Ironsmith, Director of Economic Development and Housing. And listen, I was going to be here anyway. I'm very proud of what Habitat for Humanity does. Ken does a fantastic job. Any opportunity he sees, he gives me a call and says, what if? And same here. I call him and we share ideas and thoughts. And this is not the first one we've done in this area north of Salon. We did a few years ago on Aristotle. So you can see that area is starting to change, and it's a pretty cool thing. And to be able to produce affordable housing is very challenging, as Ken said, so we always try to work together with them. They do a great job. But I'm here today, as Chair Massaro said, to kind of share with you the Dunedin Community Redevelopment Agency. I wear a couple different hats. I do the economic development, I do affordable housing, but I also do the downtown, and it's called the Community Redevelopment Agency. In our situation here, the City Commission sits as the Community Redevelopment Agency, as Deborah Kynes has done for a number of years, and I've presented before her. And what I'm going to share with you today is some different things on the Community Redevelopment Agency, the Community Redevelopment District. I'm going to try not to go too quick so I can overwhelm you with acronyms very quickly, but the CRA is really, you know, I think one of the best government programs going. I have a small staff. You saw in that first picture. I have, really, it's me, 2 other people, and I have a consultant part-time, the former Deputy City Manager, Doug Hutchins, who I need his talents for project management. This slide, one of the things that I always talk about is we build a sense of place. And I think that's what helps put Dunedin on the map. And I'll go over these projects in more detail, but I wanted to give you an initial graphic. A sense of place, that's what we do. We used to spend a lot of time on ROI, return on investment. We still do that because that's kind of a pure economic development aspect, but we also really try to create an inviting place for residents and tourists and visitors. I'm going to talk a little bit about the background of the CRA, and Chair Massaro was actually in the very, very beginning, back in the 1980s, when it was formed. He was part of what's called Downtown Technical Advisory Committee, DTAC, and boy, they did a lot of great things and had tremendous vision. And really, I've been kind of implementing a lot of the things that they put in place years ago. They were ahead of their time. I just want to do a little trivia quiz, make sure you're all staying awake, so I'm just going to run through some questions with you. I know that Kevin Benjamin has seen this, so he doesn't need to answer, but how many free public parking spaces do you think are in the Monroe Street parking garage? This is a deal that we put together with Joe Kokalakis. This was an interesting deal. On Douglas includes the Nature's Food Patch and the apartments, and we put together a deal. How many parking spaces do you think are there? Well, I'll share it with you. There's 195 spaces there alone. We have over 1,000 free downtown public parking spaces. Over 1,000 through leases, through different deals, through ownership. It's a pretty good number. How many businesses do you think have been served by the Community Redevelopment District through our facade program? We have a matching facade program downtown that improves the storefront, and we include matching dollars. We've had 27 of those over the last 5 years or so. Oh, I don't know why that popped up. Why did that go there? Yeah, well, trying to, why didn't that thing work? There we go. How long have I been here? I've been here a long time. You know, I can't believe it myself. I've been here 28 years, so it's been a long, long time. So it's been a great journey for myself, and I really enjoyed it.
You didn't incorporate the city?
I didn't incorporate the city. All right. Here's the one you really need to know, and of course, Dan knows this. The CRA was started in 1988. Okay, that was the origin. That was the initiation. It was a blighted downtown. Why was it a blighted downtown? Downtowns across the country were suffering because of the advent of the big box retail. Okay, the Walmarts, the different players, the Kmarts. Downtowns declined. Everybody moved into suburbia. The dream was go ahead and be on a cul-de-sac, have a pool in the back, don't really need to talk to your neighbor, eat a lot of red meat, and that was the deal. Now you're seeing people come back to downtown. They're having, guess what? They want to talk to the neighbor. They want a smaller area. They want to go on trips, and they're eating more sushi. It's just interesting to see how things have changed over time. We have a master plan that was done. Typically, CRAs are for 30-year time periods on the state statutes. We were very fortunate, and Commissioner Kynes is part of this, to get it extended for 15 years. So where we were going to sunset in 2018, we got to 2033. Those are important dates because, as you'll see, the tax increment revenue is a big deal, how it funds the CRA, and by having another 15 years, that meant an awful lot. This master plan is our guidebook. What does it include? Parking, streetscaping, sense of place, special events, art, culture, all these different things that make it a vibrant place. I'm going to show you a picture here. And, well, first I'm going to show you, this is our boundary map. It's small and compact. It's 217 acres. And you can see on the west is the water, on the east is New York, on the south is Scotland, and on the north is kind of Bay Street, Jackson Street. I think that actually worked in our favor. Some places, Newport Richey, the whole city is one CRA district. Yes, they get a lot of revenue from that, but maybe it hurts getting focused. We were very small and focused on this, and I think this was one of the things that the DTAC committee, which Dan was a part of, put in play. It allowed us to really concentrate. Remember, I've been here 28 years, so we've been doing projects every year, and I'm going to share some of those with you. Look at that top photograph. That's downtown in the 80s, okay, early 80s. A pretty, not a great place to come to. We have broken sidewalks, very sterile, not really walkable, didn't have any
Railroad
interesting.
track going through.
Yeah, exactly. This, and on the bottom, that's where we are today. So you can see how far we've come. It's really an amazing story, and of course I'm biased because this is what I do, but we're one of the top downtowns in the state of Florida, and we've done some pretty creative things, and I'll be sharing those with you as we go through this process. But on the right there just shows you what we've done. The trail is the most traveled section, the Pinellas Trail in all of Pinellas County, right here. And we've increased the parking supply. We continue to do that. We've engaged and initiated redevelopment. We've got many projects going on, and we've done streetscape. It's a cool place to stay and come and visit. And when I come downtown and I have ice cream, and I drive my wife nuts because I like to watch people, and I see people of all ages, of all types, just loving the downtown. And that's what really gives me great pleasure. As I mentioned, it's, yes, Doctor?
What's a complete street?
Oh, I am sorry. A complete street is what we're doing on Skinner. A complete street is slowing down traffic, making sidewalks wider and more walkable, providing places for pedestrians, and providing for bus pull-offs and parking. That's complete streets, and you're going to see it on Skinner. I'm going to show you a picture there. We're going to put in a couple traffic circles. We found in the downtown that when we slow traffic down, the downtown becomes more vibrant and does better. So it allows for golf carts, bicycles, all the other different mobility means, and that would be complete streets.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Walkable. When we slow traffic down, we're walkable. That's been a huge play for us in the downtown. And of course, great places to eat and probably more special events than any other downtown. It's really a small downtown that is really on steroids. It's amazing what happens there. This is kind of cool. I take a lot of pleasure out of this. This is called the DEEP. It's an acronym for Downtown East End Plan. This allows us to go ahead and focus on the east side of our downtown. We wanted to do that. And what gives me pleasure here is we did this in-house. This was a self-created master plan, and it's only 4 years old. And guess what? We're doing all of these. It's pretty cool. The new city hall that we're in, that was part of the DEEP. Skinner, you see on the top there, that's a complete streets with a couple traffic circles. We're going to go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. We'll have decorative lighting, we'll have landscaping, we'll have all these other important parts that make it an interesting place. We just created some parking across from Caledonia, if you've seen that. We took down a building that was there. We did a pretty creative deal with Baycare. We don't own that property. Baycare wouldn't sell it, but they said, we want to work with you. What can we do? We have a 10-year deal with a 5-year option. We took the building down, we spent some money, and we improved it for parking. Another creative aspect, it was just sitting there as this kind of unsightly, blighted building. The Gateway, we're hoping that continues to go. We've worked very hard on that deal. The owner, Joe Kokolakis, is very committed. He's spent a lot of money. He's probably got $2 million or plus invested on that deal. We're hoping to have some certainty here in the next couple months on a timetable for that project. But that will also help to invigorate the East End. The old City Hall, we're working on that. In fact, I went before Commissioner Kynes when she was there as a passive park. We're looking at maybe a bathroom there with a nice, interesting little park that's a respite for people. So we're kind of excited about that. And Pioneer Park, of course, we did here a couple of years ago. This is an exciting project that's coming up. This is in front of Casa Tina. We have a walkway that is not real accessible. It's kind of an area that's kind of downtrodden. And we're going to be doing a wide sidewalk that meets all ADA standards. We're going to do landscaping. It's going to be a cool project. This is going to start July 5th. And the businesses will be open, but of course they'll be inconvenient. But we try to do these major projects in the summer so that we don't impact the merchants as much as it would be during the winter season. This is going to be a pretty neat project. We're also putting in 3 shade trees. The commission has spoken that we'd like to have more shade. This is part of Ready 100 and resiliency. So we are taking a couple of spots up in the middle, and we're going to put a nice oak tree there, and also an oak tree on the 2 islands. You'll see that happening.
So we're going to lose a couple parking places.
You're going to lose a couple of parking spots, but you're going to have some nice shade. I just talked about this. We call it Mies Materials. This is the one across from Caledonia that we just did as a parking area. We got about 58 parking spots there. Pretty nice here on the east end of downtown. We've been very creative with either leasing parking, buying property, or doing these type of deals with Bay Care. The Gateway, I know everyone asked me, we've spent a lot of time on that. Believe it or not, I'll date myself here. The city purchased that property in 2004. So it's almost 20 years today. But we love what Mr. Kokolakis has come up with. It's got all the approvals in play. Everything is done. He's just dealing with a difficult development environment. And when I say that, geopolitical, the war in Ukraine, higher interest rates, double than when he started, and supply and materials have all affected the pro forma. But again, he has a lot of money invested, and he is a very good developer to work with. He lives here. He owns a lot of property. He wants to make this happen, and we're going to work with him quite a bit. This is, I mentioned the old City Hall. We're looking to demo that here in the next couple months, and then we're looking to make it a passive park. It could be an interim plan till funds are sufficient. That one still has to be decided by the commission, but it's just a great opportunity with the beautiful shade trees in there to create a nice little respite for people that are coming downtown. This is the complete streets. It's just a little larger shown here, aerial, for Skinner. This will be an extremely challenging project. It'll be the largest streetscape project that I worked on. That's why I went ahead and got Doug Hutchins to come back with me. I said, Doug, what can I do to get you back? I need your help. He's just extremely good and meticulous at project management. This encompasses many variables: driveway cuts, undergrounding of utilities, private overhead utilities going under. There's a lot of moving pieces in this one. DOT has been very good to work with. They're actually very good on schedule. We're working with them. We're working with Duke. We're working with all the private property owners. There will be a public open house on this here in this building. I believe it's June 27th. So if you have any interest, you certainly can come down and see it. We'll have DOT. We'll have graphics. We'll even have some videos showing some movement along the roadway. But a very big initiative. We're looking at $10.5, $11 million type project. This is one of the larger ones, and we'll have to take on some debt with the CRA to do this one. But this has always bifurcated the downtown to the north. Yes?
Can I say something
Sure.
about this project? When we put together the CRA and we determined what the boundaries of the downtown, the district would be, it stayed intact for a number of years until we decided that we needed to do something with Skinner, way back.
Wow.
We thought about what was happening on Skinner with the 4 lanes, 2 lanes of traffic in each way, and the thought was we need to expand that area. So the CRA was expanded one time to take in all of that Skinner property so that there will be more future development and increase our downtown area. So this is a great project. This is one of the things that the people behind the CRA early on had in mind to do, and it's going to come to fruition. So this is a great project.
It is, and several of you know.
I wish I owned property there.
I do too. You know, I've been here a long time, but someone that we all know, Jack Norton, is doing Norton's Brewery. They're on the corner of, to be on the northeast corner of Skinner and Douglas. So this is already starting. And it's funny, one of the things that we've been big believers in our economic development is we build the infrastructure, we build the environment that then encourages private investment and people to do different things. I'm not spending my days all the time out there trying to recruit. I'm building the infrastructure in the sense of place to encourage people to come and start their business here. And we've been good with that. That's why we do projects every year. You know, I call it sustained incrementalism. And it could be in Deborah Kines's big way, it could be a bus stop, it could be anything. But something has to be happening every single year. And I'm going to share a little bit of that with you too over the years, what the CRA has done and accomplished.
Bob, what day did you say that presentation was on?
I believe it's June 27th. I might be wrong on that, but I think it's June 27th. I think it's 5:30, but I'm going off the top of my, my head here. I'm not sure. Oh, is it? Okay, okay. This is not everything the CRA does. This is things that also economic development does. We're looking at a Midtown parking facility that's up for commission discussion. That's on the property that was bought recently there at Scotland and Douglas. Coca-Cola, that's something we're working on. It's not in the CRA, but it's a big economic development engine for the city. Patricia Avenue, we're looking at a landscape median. Again, it's outside the CRA. This just gives you a sense of things that we do. We're looking at removable downtown bollards downtown for special events. We're going to go ahead and budget that. What we have now, because we're always concerned about some situation happen when someone would drive through or do something of harm, they have a lot of big trucks out there, and some of them are kind of, dump trucks and don't necessarily give you a great ambiance. So we're looking at bollards. So that's one of the things that we have coming up for an initiative. I mentioned this Midtown parking facility we think is extremely important for a couple of reasons. We are just starting a little bit of discussion with community development, with George here and all, with Ocean Optics. That's the old site across from Casatinas. We currently lease that parking. There's probably at least 55, 58 parking spots in there. When that goes away, there'll be some ramifications on parking. That's a key area. So we'd like to get ahead of the game. And to build a parking facility these days, it used to be you could do them pretty quickly. Now it's going to take a 2-year deal. And so we want to get ahead of the game. It's one of the things the commission will be digesting, along with other capital projects. This is something that we're looking to really support and we feel is needed. This would be 3 levels above grade, about 174 parking spots initially is what we're looking at. And I think in a key area. That's just another shot. We did lay out a little schematic of this parking, 3-story parking facility. Coca-Cola, that's just a picture outside the CRA, just shows another economic development. It's about 27.5, 28 acres. This is going to be a very big item for the city to address, and we're working with Coke. In fact, I'm having breakfast with the new GM here next week. Patricia Avenue, again outside, but we're looking to do a landscape median. I'm looking to create another sense of place on a different corridor. That's where the KFC is. This would be the entranceway feature when you're coming in. It sets the tone. We've done palm trees, we've done decorative street lights, we've done decorative street names. This is just another part of it. I don't know, why is it? But why does it do that anyway?
Do alts.
Oh, okay.
It'll take you to.
Take it in. Okay. One of the big items for the CRA is, I mentioned too, we got a 15-year extension. We were going to sunset in 2018. That was our 30th anniversary. And we got 15 years, but the county said, you know what, we're going to do a midterm review. We're going to do performance measures on you. We want to see if it's worthwhile for us to continue to contribute. Currently, with the CRA, it's a term, tax increment financing. It's not the best term. It should be tax increment revenue. The way this works is you have a base year. In our situation, it's 1988. You take a look at the assessed taxable value in 1988. It was $35 million, okay, in 1988. As that increases, we get the county portion of the assessed taxable value, their millage, and the city millage on that number. Currently, we're around 1.7 million. So we're about almost close to $200 million downtown. It's the best government program going because you're rewarded to do better. It's something that allows us to take on projects each and every year. And it also goes ahead and frankly pays for staff and things of that nature. But I don't know of any other government program that's rewarded based on performance. The CRA has performed. Last year, or this year coming up, we're going to have a 17% increase in assessed taxable value downtown. We were the second highest in all of Pinellas County, except for a very small area of St. Pete. That gives you an idea of the engine that the downtown is. And it's important, like working out, you need to keep on doing it. You can't just stop. What I've seen some cities do, I won't name them, could be to the south, but they do major public works projects. They'll do major public works projects and say, we're done. It doesn't work that way. You have to do projects, but you have to work with the merchants and work with the chamber and work with all the different players that make it a part of the downtown. Just doing a major public work project, trust me, won't just turn around the downtown. And I think one of the reasons we've been successful is the commission has supported all our efforts. The DTAC that was started when Dan started in 1988, all those things are coming into play. The chamber, the merchants association, the private property owners, the merchants. That's why the downtown has done what it's done. And the other thing I see cities, small cities not do as well is I do this full time. I see a lot of places have a George Kinney trying to do both. He's got his hands full, trust me. He's got building, he's got zoning, he's got code enforcement, he has a whole bunch of things he's working with. There's no way one person could do both those jobs. So I'm fortunate in a way that the commission has supported this initiative and endeavor, and this is what I do full time. But the downtown, it was based on being blighted. We've certainly have worked through the blighted, and we continue to improve it. And what do I got to hit? Tab is what you say? Alt tab. Why does it do that anyway? Oh, it's going now.
Take this out.
Oh, is that what's doing it? That's what's doing it? Okay. We're going to start to assume long-term debt. We can't just afford, we don't have the cash revenue to support Skinner, nor a parking garage. And we bought some property recently, that was debt. So we're going to be starting to take on long-term debt. And that's why it's very important for us to provide to the county that we're relevant, that we need help in order to continue to sustain the downtown. And what the county has said is their millage was always higher. That what they're saying to us now is, you know what, we'll provide, but we're going to be at the same millage that you are, which is 4.3145. So that also kind of limits us just a little bit. It's about $75,000 or $80,000. But this midterm review, which will start next year, is going to be a very, very big factor for us. That's part of what I wanted to share with you. I just want to share something else with you very quickly, if I can find it. I might need James' help. Let's see here. Oh, wait, I got James. It's right here. I think it's right down here. So I think is it this one? Let's see. Yes, it's here. On our CRA, Dunedin Gov, okay, you could go to different departments, and you can go to economic development. And then you can go in economic development and take a look at CRA. I'm not going to go through all this with you. It's too much information. But it's interesting. It goes through the history of the CRA through the years. It talks about how blighted it was, what was needed. Again, the forefathers, and Dan was a part of that. What zoning should be in place. One of the things that they did is they put in a parking requirement, 1 per 400 square feet, no matter what the use was. That was ahead of its time. Now you're seeing cities do it, but back in those days, they didn't think that way.
But all the other cities today, like Safety Harbor,
They've
and
copied.
others, they copied.
They copied. They
on that
copied.
400.
That was ahead of its time. And I really think that was a major factor in the rejuvenation of the downtown. People felt comfortable. It was easy to explain. Oh, you want per 400. Okay. It's half maybe what they would get somewhere else. So that was a big, big factor in it. This goes through the years. It shows 1988 what the goal was, to revitalize it, to use the tax increment revenue. It shows the boundaries. We talked a little bit about that. Again, the TIF was established in 1988 and has increased proportionally as the downtown has grown and assessed taxable values have increased. What's nice, though, about this is as you go through this, you will see this is where we started. Okay, I showed that picture to you. I can't get any more graphic than that. I think we all agree it's not a great place to spend any time in. And the vision that was needed, again, that was the DTAC. Look at the sidewalks, look at this kind of the poor landscaping. I think you kind of get a feel. That Edgewater travel, that's where Cafe Al Fresco is, okay? That's where the trail is. None of that was there at that point in time. None of it was there. So between the trail and people like Peter Kreuzinger investing, and across the street, you had Kathy Carlson and Virgil and stuff invested in the Blur and Chickaboom. This starts to show you the first accomplishments that were done. Okay, this is 1988-89. I was not here. Okay, then you see in 1991 what was done, and you can just go through this, and you can see all the different things that started to occur. The very first deal that I did when I came is I wanted to make sure we had residential here. So where you see those Grant Street townhomes, I did that deal where John Freeborn is. That was an old SunTrust ATM that was just boarded up.
Drive-through, 10-lane drive-through.
It was, and I dealt with Mr. Freeborn and John, and I said, what about a land swap? The city owned the property, not all of it, but some on Grant Street, so we got a land swap done. And I met with the developer, a gentleman named Philippe Beau, and that project, which is called neo-traditional new urbanism, it was the first project of its kind in this area where you could have commercial in your front with your residential. Now, we kind of diluted it, to make it marketable, so now people are using that for home offices and things of that nature. But guess what? Because of the COVID and things that are happening, it's pretty good to have a home office there, and that's what people are using them today. That was the first project that I actually worked on, and then we did streetscape improvements to Main Street. So I know I hit you with a lot of information. I hope I made some of this a little bit more understanding of what the CRA does. It's a very important tool to revitalize. It's a concentrated approach with a dedicated revenue, and frankly, I need to say Pinellas County's been a great partner. They've shared in all of this. And when we do a streetscape project in front of Casatinas that came in pretty expensive, about $642,000, well, the county's a part of that. That's pretty big. And here's the other nice thing that people forget, and of course Dan knows this. When the CRA sunsets in 2033, all that revenue is generated, it goes to the general fund. Well, I expect it to be somewhere around 1.3 to 1.5 million. So I think of us as stewards that created value that will go back to the general fund. That's a pretty good hit. So we improved it from where it was. All that goes to the city. And they can improve other corridors or whatever they would like to do at that point in time. So a pretty meaningful approach to what we did from an economic development standpoint, and we'll continue to do. Skinner's a big one, Casatina's a big one, the garage is a big one, the old City Hall is a big one, and of course, affordable housing, we continue to try to do that. And one of the things that Ken mentioned somewhat, and we certainly know when we talk, it's a recurring cost too. It's not only getting someone into the house, it's a recurring cost. The property insurance, the property tax, all the other things that go with it. So, but anyway, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I maybe took up too much of your time, so I hope I was okay.
Could you, clarify a little bit about that streetscape in front of Casatinas?
Yeah.
Will it start at Douglas? What?
It's going to go from the trail. It's on the south side. It'll go from where the trail is, GW Salon, all the way down to Skips at Douglas and wrap around a little bit around the corner. You're going to see that parking there will be taken away. There'll be barricades. We're going to use it as a staging mobilization area. We'll have signs open, say business open. We met with all the property owners. They certainly understand and happy to see it. They know it's going to be somewhat inconvenient, but you know when it's done, it's just going to.
So that'll get away from the,
yeah.
Because it seems like when you walk by now, the sidewalk leans toward it.
Yes.
I've seen people stumble at.
Yes. It is not compliant to where it needs to be, and we want to fix that. Yes.
I know you have a lot of things on your plate.
Yeah.
Is there one dream, one vision that if you could just blink your eyes, it would appear? What's something you would do, you yourself would direct for the downtown and the CRA district?
Wow. You mean things I would have done differently, or?
If you had, I know what you have on your plate.
Okay.
If you personally could just come up with one, what's something this city could use?
I tell you, I think the parking garage is very important because we lease lots. We currently pay $211,000 a year in parking leases, and obviously those need to be whittled down over time. And so I think a parking garage, it's a big expense. We're somewhere 8.1 million, so it's a big number. But I think it's something that will just keep the future of the downtown in good shape. I do. So.
I've got a short story for you.
Okay.
I was walking up Main Street, and a woman had just parked her car, and she was looking around, and she saw me and said, "How do I pay for my parking?"
Oh my God! That's where I lost my hair. That's oh my God!
I said, "All parking down here is free."
It is.
She said, "No way!" So good job, Bob.
Oh, I appreciate that. That was the parking wars. That was a real tough time. And, I'll tell you a funny story there. Where the artisan is on Douglas, that was just the old Keller, vacant property. We leased it. And the city was going to get some BP money from the big oil spill. And I told my wife, I left the house, I said, I really got a good project here. I think we're going to take the BP money, some CRA money, and we're going to go ahead and do this deal for the parking garage here at Monroe. And she said, okay. Son of a gun, didn't go that well that night. It went a different way. But we lived through it. We all learned. And I think we all appreciate now, the free parking. So it all went for the best. So it was a good learning exercise. So
If painful.
painful, no question about it. But what's nice about downtown, I think we all agree is, in the early years, I always said it was like Cheers. Remember that popular show, Cheers with Ted Danson? People get to know you, they smile, they say hi to you. It's just a welcoming place. And I think what happened with suburbia and these cul-de-sacs in different places, there was no place to hold a parade. There was no place to celebrate. And I think that's what downtown is. It's part of everybody. Can come anywhere and have a good time. And I think that's what downtown has done. We were also got noted as the first trail town in the state of Florida. That's pretty cool. We also were the first ones to light the trail. Back in, I think I did that deal in 1999, the county considered it a park and it closed at dusk, end of story. I said, you got to be thinking about this differently. This is a way for people to come to downtown. They want to walk it. Okay, you want to light it? I said, yes. Then you pay for it and you take over the maintenance of it. I said, we'll do it. And that's what we did. And guess what? Yeah, Tarpon and the others copied us. They got to see how important the trail was for our downtown. So it's
Yeah,
been
it's funny to
great.
hear. I went to Tarpon, I went to Safety Harbor.
Yeah.
It's fun, it's nice.
It is.
But it's not Dunedin. And that's not from me. I mean, that was what people have told me recently.
Wow,
Those
it's-
specific, you've done a heck of a job.
That's nice. Well,
It-
I'm very lucky. I mean, I got a partnership with community development here in George and other city departments, engineering. Everybody's just been great. The merchants, the chamber. I work with Mr. Benjamin over there with the chamber. So it's been good. But again, I think the city committed from this person to do this full time, and then DTAC was ahead of its time. And we've just been implementing projects, and so we've been successful and had great support. So I feel fortunate, been here a long time. I got a few more to go. So I'm sure the stands
When
go
did you
through the
come?
dial.
What year did you come?
I came in 1995. I came in 1995, in February of 1995, and I had met at the time with Sonny Thornton, who Dan knows well, and Jackson Arnold, the former commissioner, and the city manager was John Lawrence, and at the time, they just met with me and they said, come on board. And I was going to leave in 2000. In fact, if you look at the article, I said, I'm going to the county. And I came back, and John Lawrence, their past city manager, said, gee, what do we need to do to keep it? And I stayed. I'm so glad I did. It worked out really, really well. So I was very, very happy about that. And it was nice. But I've had great support. So
When we did DTAC, or not DTAC, but the CRA in '88,
yes.
one of our real goals was to hire you, okay? Now, at the time,
Not
we
me.
didn't know you, but we needed to hire the person to run it and make it happen, okay? And I know the city did all that they could do to scrape up the funds, and pay for part of your salary. We did a couple of projects that we did have some tax increment financing that came back to the city
Yeah.
that helped pay for part of your salary again, but I remember that, and I knew when you came, we were on our way.
Oh, well, that's very kind. No, I've been fortunate. And, a lot of people say, well, downtown's done. I hope you hear today, it's not downtown. It's not done. We got Ocean Optics. We got the Gateway. We got Skinner. We got the old City Hall. We got a parking garage. Trust me, we got Huntley Avenue. We are not done, which is kind of a neat thing. We continue to improve and enhance it. And it's kind of like working out. You don't just stop. Otherwise, you'll deteriorate. Yep.
Hey, we got Bob here, so you got.
Bob, I just have one comment. Your PowerPoint's going to need another update
Uh-oh.
because we were just written up in Dunedin, or in Southern Living magazine again
Oh,
last month,
fantastic.
2023.
I did not read. Thank you for sharing
It was a
that.
great article.
Is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. No, I didn't know that. That's very, very cool. Well, it's all of you, too, putting your time in. There's so many people that put their time in, they're active, and I think that's what makes a difference. I think when you're in Dunedin, you know you're in Dunedin, and you want to make a difference, and there's a lot of people out there, and it's kind of cool.
At one time, the city had a planner, his name was Richard Follett.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I used to use Richard Follett because he was a landscape architect, and I used to hire him to do a lot of projects. And the city hired him away, okay? But
Talented guy.
one day, he came into my office. I had an office at 312 Main Street, right downtown. And he came to me with some sketches, street sketches from Broadway to Douglas.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
And they were the very first sketches. Somehow or another, Bob Brotherton found some funds in the city
Yeah.
to make that happen, where we decreased the 4 lanes of traffic, cut it down to 1 lane in each direction, and put in the angled parking with all of the streetscapes, the sidewalks, and the planters. It was only 2 blocks long from Broadway
Wow.
to Douglas.
The start.
His name was Richard Follett. He come up with that concept.
Yeah, no, sorry, no, it was the start. Yeah, angle parking, we call it user-friendly, that's key. Safety harbor is parallel, very long and linear. Yeah, the angle parking is key. And you're right, with 4 lanes going through 580 and taking it back. And in fact, we just did some landscaping there at Highland, across from the living room. And guess what? They're hitting pieces, what they're putting in the trees, you'll see them, they're hitting pieces of the old concrete from the old road, because it's hard to get that stuff in there. So yeah, pretty cool. But slow traffic down, doing that chicane was nice too, so.
You know, Bob, about this new parking garage. Okay, remember when you and I went to Winter Haven?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Winter Park, I think it was.
Is it go-
Yeah, was it Winter Park?
Winter Park.
Winter Park,
Is
yes.
it going to be wrapped, or are you just going to make it look great? Like it could be a real building, not just a parking garage?
Not sure yet, but that's a good question. It has those options. You have to wrap it or to
Is
look
there
at.
enough room to wrap it? That's not that big a piece.
No, it's challenging. It's 0.77 of an acre, so it is very challenged. You're absolutely right. And sometimes when you make these parking garages look so wrapped, people don't realize it's a garage. So it's interesting, but no, I don't know the answer to that one. Stay tuned. I'm waiting for, the commission will make a decision based on these capital projects, then,
One we
yeah.
saw in Winter Park, I mean, it
Oh,
just melded
beautiful.
right in.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought, that you just thought it was another building.
Yeah.
But not an ugly building.
Agreed. No, I don't want an ugly building, that's for sure. Not happening, not on my watch. But no, I agree. You know, Winter Park has got some beautiful things, brick and the sidewalks and things of that nature, so, yeah.
Hey, Bob, as we look forward, you know, a lot of years, electric bicycles are really becoming a popular mode of transportation, very effective, and it also gets people off the streets. And the trail is a great north-south route. How are we doing to create more east-west routes that could tie into that and help expand even more viability for bike as a transportation need?
Yeah, we're going to do, I mean, on a small scale, we're going to do it on Skinner. So you're going to see a very wide bike lane, 7 foot, and a very wide sidewalk. So that's part of it. But you're right, east-west is important. Yeah.
Maybe like something like a Virginia, you know, get up to Keene or something like that, because that's a pretty good route.
Absolutely. Absolutely. E-bikes have been real dynamic. Yeah, it's been a game changer.
You know, they talked about a long time
Oh, yeah.
ago, where the
I mean-
DFA on Michigan, that was supposed to be the east-west.
Yeah.
Something happened with that, I
George Kinney just mentioned, and George is the lead, they're looking at complete streets on bell trees, you know, kind of east and west. So George is working on that project, so stay tuned on that one. That'd be kind of neat, so.
It ties in well with the stadium.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah,
What would you say,
I'm sorry.
not to change this, what would you say your vision of the Coca-Cola property would be?
What a great question. You know, yeah, that's a good one. It's interesting. Coke has pushed back their timetable a bit, but now they seem very committed to, and I'll know more here shortly, but they seem very committed to going ahead and start their term decommissioning, you know, and that will go up for sale probably in the summer of '24. But to answer your question, what do I see? You know, this is just a Bob Ironsmith, you know, thought, maybe some type of business park, maybe some type of affordable housing type component. It's a big piece. It does have some environmental that we need to take into consideration. That's kind of what I see. I'd like to see some job creator there also. I think it's important for the city. So that's kind of what I see. You know, I think there's, Again, I'll have to do some research and meet with different players and brokers and developers, but I think there's a lot of people who don't want to go down to St. Pete for different business interests or Pinellas Park. And I think there's a lot of people that maybe would love a little business park here in Dunedin. The one across the street to the east is pretty full. I could see a cabinet maker, an electrician, things of that nature, but pure speculation on my part. Yeah, so, yeah.
What about the arts?
Oh, arts, oh, yeah, you could.
Come on, you could also do an
Oh,
arts.
you could do arts, you could do a culinary school, you could do a culinary school.
That's thinking.
I mean, the options are endless. I mean, the options are endless. So it depends at that point in time. Coke is going to sell it as is. I'm pretty certain of that. So we have to get a developer on board that can see a vision and see what happens out there. But yeah, it could be bottling, it could be arts, it could be a culinary school, it could be a lot of different things out there, so.
Hospitality.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have you could do a hospitality thing with one of the SPC,
Sure.
USF.
Sure.
mean,
You could have a satellite, you just,
Right.
it could, many options. Don't know yet how that will work, but great question, thank you.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
Bob, I thank you for coming.
oh, my pleasure.
Making this presentation.
I hope yeah.
We were all pretty comfortable about hearing all of what Bob has to say about our CRA and our downtown. So it was meant to be, as a kind of an update for everyone to be a little bit knowledgeable about what the CRA is all about.
Yeah.
What it's done for us over the time.
And you'll see more projects, as you said, and I work with George and his department, and, we work together on different things, and you'll see more redevelopment happening. People want to be in this redevelopment district. There's strong investment interest, and the prices are just, well, you all know, they're off the charts. It's
They are.
crazy, so it's just what occurs. So thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, Bob.
Okay, at this time, we have an open forum. If there is anything that we wish to converse with our staff people about ongoing projects or anything within the downtown area, we have an opportunity to ask questions. So if there's anyone that has a question? Anyone? Okay. And I'm told now that because we do this on a board level, we have to open this up for the public. So if there's anyone from the public that would like to come forward and address us, this would be the time. And no one from the public is here, so I'll close that portion. The next meeting, when is our next meeting?
It is scheduled for Wednesday, July 12th. And Chair, I've also learned from our alternate, Elizabeth Telford, she will not be present next month.
Okay. And speaking about alternates, so our new board member, full board member, Kevin?
We'll make the recommendation,
Okay,
seeing as he was next in line from our past voting.
Yep.
Based on the way the voting outcome was, he would be, as alternate number one, he would move into that. We will recommend to commission that he moves into that open vacancy.
All right, and then
But
Elizabeth,
We're doing that at the next meeting, is that going to be on the agenda at the next meeting for the board to do that, for this agency to do that formally?
We don't have to, when an alternate moves in, it's just that commission has to approve.
Okay, great.
and Elizabeth would then move into the number one alternate position?
That is correct, and then that will leave number two
And
alternate.
then we will be asking the city to find us another,
Yes, sir, and that we would expect to place that vacancy on the July agenda.
okay. One last thing, all right. Thank you, George. Now, of course, I've been prejudiced about the CRA because I've been so close to it, so thank you all for allowing me to let that happen, and thank you, Bob, for coming up here and doing it. The next time, we have a light schedule, agenda. I think these would be, helpful for staff to pick a subject that they would like to kind of educate us all a little bit more on. And I want to make a suggestion to you, okay?
Sure.
Compatibility, as Bob knows, and I think you also, George, has always been a major issue. And Deborah has dealt with this as on the commission for a number of years. And we've been hollered at by our attorneys for making statements about compatibility and understanding what compatibility is all about. October 13th, 2021, we had this report from Brandt Miller Olive, compatibility objective 2.9. I would suggest that maybe, if it's at all possible and staff is in agreement, maybe we take a look at this and get a little presentation from staff and kind of just give us a brief understanding of what compatibility objective 2.9 is all about.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that, Mr. Chairman, yep.
All right. Is there anything else?
But I just want to interrupt real quick and just say Bob didn't quite say enough about how good of a relationship he has with community development on these projects. Just want to emphasize that a little bit, but yeah.
And
Sorry.
just speaking in jest, I just want to be clear, I think that was an educational piece. Brian Miller Olive is the firm that represents you as your attorney, and as well as the city attorney. So that's an educational piece, and I'm sure we're glad to.
And maybe if Hillary's willing to kind of do something together, I can kind of speak
Yeah, I'll
to it
work
from
with
the
you
comp
for it,
plan
yeah.
side, and she can kind of speak to it from the legal side.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this was always an attorney issue, okay? Starting way back with, you know, our original city attorney. So, good topic. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for termination of our meeting.
I was just going to ask, aren't we supposed to be doing some sort of thing that we come in and learn about everything, or orientation? I've never.
Joan is setting those up, so you'll get an email from Joan at some point. So we've gotten to, I think, about 2 or 3 of you, but we need to reach out to the rest of you. We had
Continuing that.
we kind of delayed a little bit because we were moving in here, and it was, but I think we're ready to ramp those back up at this point.
That's kind of why I've been pushing for these little presentations on these items, so that we all hear this stuff. I mean, I'm in tune to quite a bit of it, but a refresher is always good.
And to your point, Deborah, we did, on those one-on-ones, we do hit on the compatibility piece and talk about that. Well, it works out, so.
I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Will somebody make the motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes.